Hi, welcome to today's program. I'm your host, Miriam. Today, you are wondering as to what we mean about the topic that we have chosen. Eat your way to BP, diabetes, and the likes. Welcome to Health Nuggets. And today, specifically, we are looking at cholesterol. Among all other health issues that people normally face, cholesterol is very difficult to detect because in most cases, you hardly notice that you have issues of cholesterol until when you have a secondary disease. For example, until when you are diagnosed with high blood pressure and the doctor realized that it is due to the cholesterol level that is in your body that have contributed to high blood pressure. Or sometimes you find yourself you're suffering from diabetes and the first thing that the doctor will tell you is you need to lose weight because some of the fats have been hanging around somewhere here and there. So then today we want to look at what is cholesterol really and what does it do for our body? Is it important or is it not? So in our today's presentation, the breakdown will be as follows. We are going to look at what is cholesterol. We are going to look at what are the functions of cholesterol for the body and the good and the bad cholesterol, the causes of cholesterol imbalance, as well as the consequences of imbalance of cholesterol, and what is the way forward. Right, according to the Mayo Clinic, they define that cholesterol is a white yellowish substance, which is wax kind of fats, which is actually produced by the liver because it serves a specific function in our body cells. So cholesterol has important function in our body, and our body do need it. Therefore, the body is able to produce enough cholesterol which is sufficient for the body. So we are told that because of how important it is, the body is able to produce about 80% of the cholesterol. So in other words, the body does not need external supply of cholesterol from other sources. It can be able to sustain itself by the production that it makes. So we are told that this cholesterol helps us in various areas of our body. The functions of the cholesterol, some of them we are told that they contribute to the structure of the cell membrane. So our cells have got a cell membrane, which is kept in check. Part of the substance that are there, it is cholesterol. It helps, to regulate as to the things that gets into the body cells, particularly liquid. So it allows or it regulates as to what kind of liquid or how the amount of liquid that gets into the body. So this is one of the functions of cholesterol. The second one that we also find is that cholesterol forms a big part in the production of digestive bile acid, which helps in melting the fats. So we see that cholesterol plays a big role in the production of bile. So our body needs that as well. We are also told that it helps in enabling the body to make hormones, particularly the male hormones. So you can see that from what I've just listed here, the cholesterol has good and specific purposes that it serves in the body. And hence, our body are created in the way that it can actually supply itself with enough cholesterol that it needs. Right. So the good and the bad cholesterol. Now, you will understand that, or you will come to realize that what we term as low cholesterol in this presentation, you may think that this is actually the good cholesterol. But we are told that the low density lipoprotein, it is actually the bad cholesterol. So you see, as I said earlier, the cholesterol is more of fatty wax substance which cannot actually travel to the other parts of the body, which is the cells where it's needed on its own. Because by doing so, it will be like if you are going to put, a fat, animal fats, you put it in water, what will happen to it? It will just float around. It will never go where it's supposed to go. So the same happens with cholesterol. So in order for it to reach at the destination where it's supposed to go, the body wraps it around into what is called, protein. And then it goes into the bloodstream and then it is taken where it's supposed to go. So no wonder it is called the low density lipoprotein because it is wrapped in protein and it is taken where it's supposed to go. So the low density lipoprotein, or the bad cholesterol, which is called the LDL, this type of cholesterol, when it reaches the cell, it's supposed to enter the cells. Now, the cells have got, like keyholes, which allows different substances to enter inside. So some of those cells, some of those holes, they are for glucose, like the receptors for glucose. Some of the cells, the cell hosts, they are, for cholesterol. So these holes, they can only fit specific particle or substance that can go in. They are called the receptors, which are found on the cells. So when this cholesterol reaches the right receptor, it gets inside. And so now, when the cell have actually had enough of it, it shuts down to say nothing more can come in, as it cannot contain much more than what it can take. And so what transpires is that all the entries that, where these are supposed to enter in are closed. So what do you think happens now to the cholesterol, which is still coming or that is still piling up? So what happens is that the cholesterol will then hang around, this bad cholesterol. That's why it is called the bad cholesterol. It will start hanging around wherever it finds itself. It just be floating around in the bloodstream. And this creates a risk for the person. So then that is where we are introduced to the good cholesterol. The good cholesterol serves as the pickup. It goes around and collects this bad cholesterol that is hanging around, which is no longer useful because now it's in excess. So the good cholesterol, which is called the high density lipoprotein, goes out and collect all this bad cholesterol, take it back to the liver where it's broken down, and eventually, eliminate it. So this is why it's called a good cholesterol, because it keeps in check the bad cholesterol. So the body is able to create both the good and the bad and to keep that balance without help from external source. Right. So you can actually see from there that, as the body has the capacity to do that, it can maintain that order if it is not disturbed from other sources where we add things that might create imbalance of the two cholesterol. Right. So what causes the imbalance of the cholesterol, right? Where you find a situation where you have got probably the low, the good one being low and the high, and the bad one being high. So one of the things that create that imbalance is eating too much of saturated fats. Now, saturated fats tend to create more of the bad cholesterol. It increases the level of the bad cholesterol and reduces the level of the good cholesterol. Things that or food that contains high saturated fats, for example, animal food or flesh food, they lead your body, or they create your body to increase more of the bad cholesterol, which is the LDL, and then it reduces the HDL. So when we eat more of animal or flesh food, we are actually making or causing the imbalance of this cholesterol in the body. So that means then that we are actually causing the body to create more of the bad cholesterol than it does create the good cholesterol. So when that imbalance occurs, it creates a lot of health hazards. Eggs and the dairy products, they tend to create imbalance. In fact, one egg, or just one egg yolk, contains about 200 grams of cholesterol. So you can just imagine in a situation where somebody eats one egg yolk or one egg that contains 200 grams, and you can just imagine whereby when they eat actually 2 or 3 eggs, that will be already 600 grams. So it's important that we need to eliminate such things which creates imbalance. And the other thing that we are told is that we need to reduce our salt intake. Now, salt in its own, it does not reduce your cholesterol. Now, the issue with the salt is actually the sodium that is in there. So we should opt for salts which are low in sodium. Now, sodium actually it hardens the lining of your arteries, and thus creates a lot of pressure for the heart as it pumps blood. So when we reduce our salt intake, we are actually helping our heart not to have so much pressure as it pushes the blood through. So we can opt for salt such as Himalayan salt, which is low in sodium, and it has got a lot of minerals that our body can benefit from. Also, it's very interesting to note that there are also some other things in terms of saturated fats. There are also other food products that are coming from plants which are high in saturated fats. For example, coconut oil. I know many of us do opt for coconut oil because we believe it's healthy
because it comes from plant. But surprisingly, you will realize that when you check the label on the coconut oil, you realize that it has high saturated fats. So in other words, coconut oil is unfit for consumption as it has a high saturated fats, which complicates our healthy. So instead of using coconut oil and other oil that are high in saturated fats, you rather replace this oil with nut oil, canola oil, and olive oil, and other oil which are not saturated.
And then the other thing that creates imbalance in these two cholesterol is eating trans fatty foods. Now, trans fatty foods, most of those foods that are sold, which are baked already, if you check on the label, you'll find that they are indicated that they are used with, they were cooked using the hydrogenated oil. So in that order, these trans fat foods, they also affect or create an area where your good cholesterol actually drops and then your bad cholesterol increases. Right. And so the other point is that the other thing that creates the imbalance is for those that are smoking, you realize that because of the toxic things that are found in the cigarette, the cigarette tend to create or to cause your body to create the bad cholesterol than it does the good cholesterol. So, and not only that, but you also realize that because of the tar that is found in the cigarette, it creates a good area for the bad cholesterol to hang around, to stick around, and thus create, they form walls and start sticking around until your arteries becomes narrow. So those are just some of the few things that actually causes the imbalances of the cholesterol. Of course, there are other things that are maybe beyond our control that can actually lead to cholesterol level imbalances. For example, some chronic illnesses such as kidney diseases, diabetes, and HIV and AIDS, and lupus. All these type of diseases can actually, in the long run, causes, the imbalance of cholesterol in the body.
The other thing again is alcohol intake. For those that drinks alcohol, they tend to gain weight, which now increases also the imbalance of the cholesterol in the body. So in other words, the good cholesterol level reduces, whereas the bad cholesterol increases. So this is another thing that creates the imbalances in the body.
Okay, so what are the consequences of the imbalances? Right, so imbalances in this case, normally what happens is that the good cholesterol becomes less and the bad cholesterol becomes very high. So what happens when this balance, in most cases that has been the main challenge. There are very few cases where you find people that have got high of good, cholesterol, and then they have health issues. So in other words, in fact, it is recommended that you rather have high of the good cholesterol than you do have of the bad cholesterol. So if you have high level of the good cholesterol and the low level of the bad cholesterol, which is actually good, you are less likely to face the challenges that many people do face when they do have a high level of the bad cholesterol. Right, so what are some of the challenges, like I said, which people normally experience when they have high level of the bad cholesterol than they do have of the good cholesterol? So this can lead to stroke and heart attack. You see, because these are fat-like substances, cholesterol tends to hang around everywhere, and in that case, your good cholesterol is supposed to serve as a pickup, is not available to be able to pick up the bad cholesterol. So what happens is that your bad cholesterol will hang around everywhere. It doesn't choose as to where it is going to hang up. So it may find itself in a narrow space or in the veins that transport blood to the brain and so forth. So when it does get stuck there, it means that you can have a heart attack or you can have a stroke. So these are some of the things that can result as these imbalances occurs. All right, and it can also lead to diabetes. As I said, it can lead to diabetes in the sense that when it goes around and hanging around everywhere, remember the cells, they are made up of receptors, and these receptors, they're supposed to take the glucose molecules into the cells. So when they do hang around everywhere, it means that they can actually hang around, they can even go and get stuck in the receptors of the glucose. And that means then that your glucose or your sugar level will be just building up very high in the blood, and it will not be able to enter or to penetrate the blood cell, the cell, because the receptors where it's supposed to go in, it has been blocked. And therefore, in the long run, you tend to have diabetes because of the buildup of the sugar, all of the glucose in your blood. Now, because your arteries get narrower and narrower as these lipids or fats are getting stuck everywhere, you tend to have high blood pressure. And in this case, in most cases, you end up having a cardiac arrest because now your heart is need to not work overtime to try to pump blood to make sure that the blood passes through and go to the other parts of the body. And thus you have your high blood pressure. And eventually your heart will get tired before it's time and you have cardiac arrest. So what is the way forward? What is it now that you have heard what cholesterol is all about? Okay, so first of all, number one, you need to exercise so that you allow your body to shed some fats, adjust your diet, and reduce those things that actually affect our health or that increase the level of bad cholesterol. And finally, avoid toxic substances. Lastly, I want to leave you with this. Say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This is Philippians 4:13. May God bless you.